Welcome home, neighbors, to episode 279 of the My DVC Points podcast. Today's show is brought to you by our friends over at DVC Resale Market. And I'm going to skip the ad read because I kind of feel like this whole show today is a market recap where I've got the one, the only, the legendary Miss Jodi Gross joining me on the show today.
Hello.
Jodi, you're our ad read, okay? How does that sound?
All right. Sounds good to me.
Yeah, let's do that. Well, if you're new to our show, every month we put out a show that is all about a market recap. We want to talk about the right of first refusal, and that's where Disney comes back in, and every contract that goes up for sale, they have the right to step in and say, hey, I'm buying that one. That's a sweet deal. I'm in. And whoever was going to buy it just loses out. Disney steps in as the buyer, and that person has to go back in and like go fish, go find yourself another contract.
Right.
Yep. So we talk about that. We talk about average prices. That's the what's happened with the trends, what's went up, what's went down, inventory analysis, and then any kind of special promotions. And we'll hear a little bit more about red hot deals coming up. So Jodi, let's jump into this. And last month, ROFR Monster.
Yeah, it's been quiet as usual. There was one buyback. It was my sale, but it was one of our company's instant sales, which, is at a significantly lower price than market price. So it's not too surprising that Disney did snatch that one up. But other than that, been very, very quiet.
Yeah. I mean, 137 when we're looking at the 160-ish range for average prices, $23 below average. There's no question in my mind why the mouse came back in and said, nah, that's too good a deal. We can flip this and make some good money on it, because they're selling it for what, 225-ish now?
Yeah. And what's interesting too is Grand Floridian stood out to me as the strongest seller of certainly of last month of January. It's the highest average price per point it's been, I think, all year, except for June of 2023. It was 170 per point. But other than that, at 166 per point, it's the highest it's been in 12 months with the exception of the July. So it's that one's holding really strong, which is good because it's a great resort and makes sense. But
yeah. So looking at this, this is our one and only solo contract. The other interesting story that I saw here was the average time to pass right of first refusal. That's how much time the mouse takes to look over your deal and see if they want to step in as the buyer, is down to just 19 days. Yeah. And that was like taking me a month when I was buying my resale. So I'm a little jealous of that 19 days. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah. A few less days of suspense for some folks.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's, I guess they're just hitting the pass button and not really doing much else. And then, but now you mentioned earlier, we'll pivot on over to this with the resale prices here.
Yeah.
And so every month you guys put out this really great report that says, here's what's happened with some charts and trend lines. And I tend to focus on the charts and the trend lines because that's where the real story is at when you're looking at the data. And as I'm looking at this, Animal Kingdom took a little bit of a beating here.
It did, yes. It's Animal Kingdom. If you look at the last 12 months, though, it has been up and down and up and down. That's probably the most fluctuation of any of them, I think, just at a glance. Average was 116 a point for December and 110 per point for January. So that was a significant difference. But again, in November, it was 111 a point. So it's just keeps going. Bouncing all over.
It's a little bit of a yo-yo there. It's a little bit of a ride. And our Bay Lake, which I'm a huge fan of in my sleep in, I'm still a fan of Bay Lake. It held steady. Beach Club.
It did. It held steady, but it's been going down. If you look at, even what was that about
a year ago, 165 here.
Yeah. Or even like halfway through the year, right? We were $20 plus per point more. So it's surprising me that it is as low as it is because it's always been a strong seller. I'd say if anybody's was ever on the fence about buying Bay Lake, now would be the time. I can't imagine it staying down for long. I mean, it's got low dues. It's on the monorail, I mean,
Yeah, it's the
strange.
most economical resort in the nicest neighborhood. And
Yeah,
that is a winning formula for
it is.
buying a house or real estate. You want
Right.
the cheapest house in the nicest neighborhood,
Yep. Yep.
and that's Bay Lake Tower. So
Yeah.
that's why I'm on a sleep in, not on Bay Lake Tower, because I'm looking at this and I'm going, man, you've got 20 some odd years more than Beach Club here, or almost 20 for the same
Yeah.
price.
I
And
know. I know.
like that's just crazy to me that we're down to like 17-ish years on Beach Club, Boardwalk, the 2042 resorts, but they're still holding some prices. And
They're still getting more than I certainly would have expected. I mean, we knew that the 2042 ticking clock was going to, eventually catch up with us. We never knew when. And I honestly would have thought it would have been a while back. I mean, obviously, like if we look back at Beach Club a year ago, it was 156 per point. And then in February, it was 161. And now it's 134. So it has gone down significantly since a year ago, but I still think 134 per point is pretty significant. It's a pretty high dollar amount for something.
you got to really love yourself some Beach Club to pay that.
Yeah.
And I get it for the people that do. It is my favorite resort here in Walt Disney World, just because of the pool and the proximity to Epcot and Walk to Hollywood.
Yep.
And you're right there at the Skyliner as well. So you've got all of that going on for you. I
Yeah.
get it. I just want to stay there at 7 months with some other points. I'm just going to be honest with you. Okay.
Yeah, I would. Well, you know what? You like me are fortunate in that you live close by. So, 7 months for us is pretty easy. We just get on there and say, when is it available and book it, because we could drive right on over. But,
yeah, but if you focus on the 1 bedrooms there, you got a pretty good shot at getting them. And the other thing I can tell you is because I'm going for the pool, December, January, February, I don't even want to look at that resort.
Same.
I'm not guaranteed it's going to be warm enough. Look, it's February here. I got a pullover on, Jodi. It's 60 degrees out there tonight.
I know. It's I'm the same way. Like a lot of, all the snowbirds want to come here, and I get it, because if it's below zero where you're from, this is warm. But for me, the last place I'd want to go is hang out by a pool or a beach when it's 60 degrees out. I mean, please don't send us hate mail, but I love the weather for going to the parks and stuff, but I'm not swimming in that for sure.
Yeah, I don't mind a walk on the beach in the 60s. That actually sounds kind of nice. I ain't gonna lie. Okay.
Beautiful. Just did it the other day.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah. So, but looking at this, we were talking earlier about the Grand Floridian's prices here.
Mm-hmm.
And 162, 166, it's the one that's held on to its value this whole entire year, while I think everything else has dropped. Now, in all fairness, Disney did just spend a few $1 million marketing that resort. So that tends to drive up demand a little bit.
Yeah. And looking at it, it's the only resort. I didn't notice this till just now. It's the only resort that is average sales price of 23. I don't know if you noticed that. So, so that's interesting. It's definitely, it's always been a favorite of folks. So I guess it's just holding strong.
Yeah. I get it. And then 89 here for Old Key West, 2042. I'm starting to see the reasonableness of that price.
Yep.
And then another 15 years onto your contract for the Old Key West extended.
Yep.
So you're paying what, $27 a point more for those 15 years?
Yeah.
That's a little bit. Yeah. I mean, you're getting more. So paying more makes sense to me. And I'm glad you guys started to split that data out, because that really starts to make things clear.
It does. And I mean, if you think about it, the $27 does make sense, because when I left Disney, I mean, that was a long time ago. The extension cost $25 per point if you wanted, when we were still offering it. So, it started at 15, I believe. That was before I worked there. And then it ended at $25 a point if you wanted to extend it. So the 27 totally makes sense. Yeah.
I'm good with that, with inflation and everything else. I think it's still $27 for 15 years of points.
Yeah.
That's a pretty fair deal. That's a pretty fair deal.
not much more than you'd pay to rent 1 year's worth of points. So yeah, I think it's a good buy for sure.
When you're looking at $89 for 17 years of points, it's yeah. I completely get it. And Poly is I'm anticipating Poly to get pushed up a little bit by all the marketing that's going to come from that new tower. So
I
I
agree.
still say if you're a Poly fan, if you want that new tower, I would be jumping in on this sooner than later. If you're really thinking about a Poly contract, just because I believe that marketing is going to drive up the resale on these points.
I agree. I'm surprised, frankly, that it hasn't jumped up more, because I know a lot of people were waiting to find out what's the scoop with the association, what's it going to be. So I think that stalled some sales for a little while. But looking at the data here, I'm a little bit surprised that it is not a bit higher than it is. But
Yeah,
you know,
yeah, I get it. I'm right there with you, Jodi. So let's scroll on down and look at the non-Walt Disney World ones. And Alani at 105, I think, is another steal of a deal. Especially if you want to go to Alani and utilize that 11-month booking window, because Disney's selling it for over twice that now. That's like crazy talk to me buying that direct.
I know it's crazy talk that, I mean, I'll never understand the accounting. I maybe there's accountants listening that could help explain that, but I've never understood, hey, we can't sell this. We can't sell this out. Let's keep raising the price. Kind of the opposite of what I'd do if I was trying to sell something, but
well,
reasons.
Here's what I think is happening. I think they have no problems in the world selling out the resort rooms at an ungodly high Hawaii rate.
Yeah.
And so because they can sell the cash rooms, they're like, it's a better value for people to buy the timeshare. But if people aren't going to buy it, then we're just going to sell it for cash, and we're going to make hay either way.
Yeah.
And so I kind of get that one, right? And the Grand Cal, love is still there. It's starting to slow down a little bit with Disneyland Tower, but the tower's got some challenges now.
It does, and that's what's kept, the Grand Cal, going strong. I mean, yes, it probably took it took the spotlight off Grand Cal for a little bit, but at the end of the day, people still really, really like the Grand Californian. I was just there like a week
it's my favorite resort over there. Like Alani, Grand Cal, and Beach Club. Yeah. Those are my faves. Like hands down, no question.
Yeah. Well, Disneyland's my first love. So of course I love that. Although I was there a couple weeks ago and it rained nonstop. The one time I finally get to go, and
you get Florida weather.
Oh, all day, all night. I mean, not a 5-minute reprieve, I don't think, but still, a bad rainy day at Disneyland's better than a good day somewhere
in the
else.
office. So yeah, I hear you. Right? Yep. I hear you. Yeah. I'm with you. And I'm glad to see Hilton Head has picked back up to somewhat of a normal spot. And because I was looking at that 66 last month going, what on God's green earth is going on here?
Yeah.
And so now we're back up to where we should be. Vero Beach at 58. That's still a little bit soft for me, but I really get it with the dues and the length of contract that's there.
I mean,
I completely get it.
It's there's got to be, the price has to be right for someone to, to pay for that. I mean, it's a great resort and all of that, but you're paying a lot in dues and you're only 17 years left or so. It's a challenge. So I get that.
Yeah. Yeah, it certainly is. And then the other news is, and I don't understand the logic for not adding data to our data points here, even though there was only one Disneyland Tower sold at 160 a point. I really wish it was added to the data on the charts, because data is data and it's all valuable. And so 160 is low. I know that was listed at 180 because I remember the listing and I remember seeing it flip from to this to sold. So it's good that we now know it was sold at 160. It was listed at like 180. Yeah. And I'm in a Disneyland Tower group with a few thousand fellow Disneyland hotel owners, and we thought 180 was an attractive price given that it's going for 225 plus on direct, but 160 is
That's a great price. That's a great price.
That's a great price. And we'll have to see. I know there's some other listings up there now. I don't know that you'll find another seller willing to sell it that low, but
True.
We'll see, because if they only put 20% down, they're still bringing cash to the table at 160. And that's not something we typically see happen with resale sellers. Is they're kind of like, okay, I'll just eat my losses from my down payment. Forget the cheese, just let me out of the trap, and they want out. But for them to come to the table with cash to get out, usually not going to happen.
Yeah, it was likely somebody who paid cash for their contract and didn't finance it.
Yeah.
That's usually how that would work. Yeah.
Yeah. That's the only other thing I can see there.
Yeah. And I think one could justify it. I mean, this is how I would justify it. If I put money down and then had to sell it for less, if I got a trip or two out of it, then I'd consider it a wash. What hopefully didn't happen is these sellers sold it for a loss and never got to use it or feel like they got something out of it. I mean, I don't know. I don't know the situation. It wasn't my listing and it sold while I was on vacation. But yeah, I mean, my guess is that they didn't finance it and that's why they were able to sell it.
Yeah. Well, I think that wraps up this part of it. Now, this is a really neat promotion. It's called Red Hot Deals. And this is like the eBay buy it now. These are no haggle pricings. Like, and how are they doing, Jodi? Like, are they flying off the shelves like we thought last month?
Yeah, they're doing really well. I mean, I personally, I mean, of course, as the salesperson, it makes my job pretty easy, right? When I don't have to negotiate. So, that part's always nice. But I mean, for buyers and even sellers, it's nice sometimes to not have to worry about negotiating. Just bottom line, here we go. And because they're priced so attractive and so, really at the lower end of market value, buyers know that it's a good deal. So they're not feeling like, oh, I got to really try and, I mean, we still get some folks that try and put in offers on them, but maybe it's that they didn't see that, the fine print that it's full price only. But yeah, they've been super popular. They're priced really, really well. Some of them are surprisingly well. Like I've been tempted a couple of times to pick one or two up.
Yeah, I'm gonna pop back over here and just I like demoing your guys' website because I keep telling everybody in my little ad reads that I do and not this show how it is the most awesome Reds website. So I've got the filter set on here for Red Hot Deals. Right now I'm seeing, what is that, 60 listings? And you're seeing everything from Animal Kingdom at 98. Here's a $98 point Animal Kingdom. We were just talking about how low that thing has been. And
I know.
Some at 102.
So I just sold one today. It was 102 and it was fully loaded. It had all of 23's points and even some 2022 points. And that was the one where it's like, darn it, if I'd have seen that first, I might have considered getting that. But one of my clients snatched it up today. So good for them.
Yeah. And when we just covered average prices. So like we were talking about Beach Club at the 130s. And this is some red hot deals at 124, 122, 120 on Beach Club.
Yep.
So when we tell you these things are like below market value, they're living up to it. Okay.
Yeah, they're well below what the average sales price has been, so definitely they're really good deals. I mean, there's just no other, don't need to sugarcoat it or anything. It's just, it is what it is. Like you said, the data shows that those prices are better than, than others, comps and stuff. So and again, I think.
Now check this one out. This is a Boulder Ridge, 447 points in a December use year. So you still have a lot of time to close on this, use anything above 350 and bank the rest if you wanted to. This is a smoking deal at 101.
Right.
Knowing that you could come back in and rent those points out easily $12 minimum if you just wanted to call the rental store up and say, hey, take my points.
Right.
Give me $12. That'd be a no-brainer. If you wanted to do some work, you could probably get 20 for them. But you're going to have to work it and sell to a friend or family or something like that. It's still a good deal to rent at 20. But yeah, like I said, I'm with you. If I had money right now,
Yeah.
I would be flipping contracts again
Yeah.
because these are some really good prices.
Yeah. That's always the
And
little issue, isn't it? Having that big bag of money with nothing, just burning a hole in your pocket, I guess. But
yeah, but check this out. This is a 50-point Copper Creeker, and it's selling for average sales price.
yeah,
50 points.
some
So
of the
it's a
smaller
tiny
ones.
one that should be driving the market up, and it's just going for average.
Yeah.
So that's a great value. There's a bunch of Hilton Head here, some Old Key West,
Yeah. There's
and
Old Key Wests in the 70s. So there are some really, really, really good deals.
again, 142 for a poly.
Yeah.
And we were looking at that, predicting 150 is going to be going up, and
Mhm.
111 for a 200-point Riviera. If you're a fan of that, and
That's cheap.
March meets your use year, where you already have Riviera points, and you know you're going to be staying at Riviera, 111 is cheap because that's over double that right now direct.
Yeah, it is.
It's
Yeah.
this is some insanely good deals. And
But
Saratoga's back into the 90s. Oh my goodness.
right? That's what I was telling you. I was looking at that going, "Oh gosh, should I? Should I?"
We haven't
But
seen that since like 2017, 2018-ish.
I know.
Like it's
It's a really good time, not to sound salesy or anything, but it is a good time to buy.
no,
You
no. I
know,
mean, I put the headlines for this show on all the thumbnails. This is a buyer's market. And
for
we're just
sure.
now coming back in and showing you guys how and why that this is a buyer's market. So if you've been looking to add on some points, January is always a great time because you've got inventory at all-time highs because the annual due statement just came
Yep.
out. Christmas bills just came
Yep.
out. People are reevaluating their financial situations and
Yep.
vacation plans, and they're going, man, dues are here. Maybe I don't want to go to Disney next year.
Yep.
And
Or
so our
downsizing
list,
a little.
yeah, listings go up. And at my house, we're looking at college tuition bills and shopping for
Mhm.
college. So that would be another motivating factor for us to come back in. And we've already said, hey, if worst case scenario, we'll amputate some points. And if that's what we got to do to get our kid where she needs to go. So
Yeah, I can relate to that, definitely.
yeah. So red hot deals, guys.
And they're
And is there
gone at
any
the
other?
end of the month. They're gone at the end of the month. So, um, again, if you're looking, it's not going to get. I don't think it's going to get any better than this. And I don't know. I do think. I don't know when exactly, but I just do see that it's going to recover the prices, especially on like Bay Lake, like we talked about. Not a spike or anything crazy, but you know, the prices are just so low right now that I think it's gonna have to bounce back up in the near future,
Yeah,
probably.
it is. And I'm going to pick up some of our live comments here as well. And we're going to start with one from my buddy Rai Kim. No, where was this one? Oh, here it is. DVC Resale Market just dropped 5 Alani subsidized dues contracts for sale. Y'all
Mhm.
know my weak spot at this point in time. So filter subsidized dues, and
Well, there's a
we've got
few.
6 of them.
Yeah.
6 March Alani subsidized dues. They're probably all listed at the same time, and probably the
Yeah,
same seller too. So you
probably.
might be able to come
Good.
back in and get something on that because
Yeah, make a
125
deal.
here, I'm offering 115. That's what I'm doing. But
Yeah.
with that many out there, that many points to sell, yeah. And then there's one subsidized Vero contract here, 224 points at Vero.
I didn't see that one. What's interesting is I have done this resale now for what I think like almost 10 years, coming up on 10 years. And up until about 6 months ago, I had never seen a subsidized Vero before. It was
Yeah.
my first one. And lately, there's been like 3 or 4 of them. And like I went 10 years almost without seeing any.
Yeah.
And in the last 6 months, there's been,
They've been popping
a
up. Yeah.
handful. Yeah, really interesting. But yeah, that's
And
great too.
then Ron gives us a little feedback here. He's saying you're not being salesy at all, Jodi. It's just the facts. The good
Thanks,
deals are
Ron.
good deals. And
Yes.
And then Jared saying, as a Riviera owner, I'm actually thinking about tacking on there. And
Yeah.
if you're going to stay at Riviera and you're happy with it,
Yeah.
50% off is no joke, Jared. Like it really isn't. And
111's crazy good. That is
Yeah.
really good. Yeah.
Caleb's talking about the 1 bedroom in summer isn't too difficult at Beach Club either. That's what I've been able to do as well. Now, food and
Cool.
wine is another conversation at Beach
Mhm.
Club, but
Of course.
summer when it's sweltering hot and you want to spend time in that pool,
Yeah. Perfect.
come on in, right?
That's when you want to be there anyway. Yep.
Yeah, and Raya saying that there's too many options on the monorail, not too many in Crescent Lake. And well, you've got 3 resorts on the monorail, and we just added on to Grand Flow. We're adding on to Poly, and so yeah, there's 3 there, and only got 2 on Crescent Lake right now. And David is backing me up here. He goes, if I had add-on-itis, I'd jump on Bay Lake Tower.
Right. I know.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's like we don't just like create stuff out of our head. Like this is solid information you guys are getting.
I mean, a
people
little
are backing us
opinion,
up.
a little opinion thrown in, but it's based off of, data and facts. Yeah.
It's based off people who eat, live, and breathe this stuff and know what we're talking about. And so
Yes.
that's what makes our show popular. And the fact that we speak truth. Like, yeah. Yeah.
Too much so for me sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I get that. Everybody's like, these people with sponsors, whatever. And I'm like, dude, do you realize how often I make these guys mad? Like, it's not funny. And it's really not funny. But you know what? It's the truth. Like, and people listen to me because I speak the truth. And that's what I'm going to come back in and do, Jodi.
I love it. I'm all
be on the
for it.
lookout for a show coming up on Direct and my thoughts on the new spoiler. You turn a trailer park into a timeshare. Like,
yeah, you never know. They could turn out magnificent.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll be hopeful.
Yep. And then Caleb also backs us up here. He goes, only 19 days of being on pins and needles for that ROFR Monster, and seeing if you pass it that's better than 30. Yeah.
Yeah. And
I think we've both been there.
Yeah. It speeds up, your close date. So if you're wanting to book something, it's all just it's a good thing for sure.
Yeah. So Rye asked the questions. How long do we think till we see the first Fort Wilderness cabins on the resale market?
I could never answer that because I'm always shocked. I mean, I'm shocked we have the Disneyland Towers on there. I mean, it wasn't.
I'll give you a hint, Rye, and this is more shots fired because I talked to a couple guides this week and got some inside scoop as to how well they're doing in their first week. It's pretty slow. So they're going to have to actually sell some of them first. Okay.
Good point. Yeah.
Before they can hit the resale market because of them dues and everything else that goes on with that. And you're making a moderate resort into a deluxe DVC thing. Like so much wrong. So it's just wrong. But
yeah, I mean, they were very ambitious with that one. We'll use that word, but you never know. It could, there's something for everybody. And that's what I learned a long time ago. The things that I would never do or can't stand, someone else loves, and vice versa. So yeah.
One man's trash is another man's treasure.
Correcto.
Just because I think it's trash doesn't mean that somebody else can't treasure it. And if that's your thing, I will high five with you. I will meet you at Hoop, and we'll settle and we'll beat on the washboards there and chow down on a little strawberry shortcake together. Okay.
That's right.
I do not have a problem with it. I want you guys to make informed, educated decisions about what's best for your family. I'm just telling you my thoughts on it. And we take opposing points of views on the show as well. So we always welcome them if you're respectful and you can articulate your point. We'll create a show and we'll bring you on. There's something that we're saying that you don't like. It really is that simple because it's all about the conversation. And if we have good conversation, we help people make good decisions. And that's what this show is all about.
Exactly.
So let me come back into this and we'll start to wrap this up, Jodi, and your contact and follow up if somebody wants to place an offer on something that we talked about tonight, or if you want to list a contract,
or just have questions. Sorry.
Or if you just have questions, right?
Yeah.
Jodi, Jodi, at dvcresalemarket.com. For the audio only listeners to our podcast, Jodi at dvcresalemarket.com, 407-325-7116. And that is your direct cell phone.
It is.
So you guys can text, you can get in contact with Jodi however Jodi wants you to, or however you feel like it.
Whatever works for them. I'm good.
Yep. So, okay. So Jodi, any other final thoughts tonight on the month of January and sales, or anything that we missed or you want to cover?
Nothing that we missed, just stressing again, to me, like Bay Lakes, a hot one. Like if you're in the market, I wouldn't wait on that. And these red hot deals, again, not to sound too salesy. Thank you, Ron, for the reassurance, but it's just it is a good time. If you've been on the fence, I'd say get off of it right now. It's a very good time. It's a buyer's market and it shows, right? So just reiterating that it's a great time to buy.
And I'm even looking at this going, okay, even if the price went down $20 like we've seen in the last year, if you used a set of points, you got your $20 worth.
Yeah.
Like it's
one time.
Hold on to it for another couple years and use a couple more and then sell it, and you'll be more than even. So that's the beautiful thing about buying resale, is somebody else has taken the financial hit of buying direct, and you're coming in at the real market price for this, and you're buying it, you're using it for as long as it makes sense for your family, and then you're going to pass it on to the next family at the real market price for whatever it is at that point in time. So,
yep. Well said.
Yep. Jodi, thank you so much for joining us. And thank you to all of our great listeners out there as well. If you'd like to record a show with us, head on over to mydvcpoints.com/MVP, and we'll do a member interview with you. And depending on how well that goes with technology, your ability to share a story and connect on camera, we might have you back on for some more member collaborations. And huge shout out thanks to all of our sponsors at World of DVC. DVC Resale Market, DVC Rental Store, and Monera Financial. And a huge shout out thanks to our Patreons as well. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Hopefully you learned something in today's live, unedited stream that'll help you go out there and plan something magical for your family. Good night, and thanks for tuning in.
Good night.